Welcome to our deep dive all about how to prep for an e-learning developer interview. We've got all those RoleCatcher resources ready to go,
Mm.
and we're going to help you make sense of all of them and really nail that interview.
Yeah, it's such a cool field, and it's only gotten even hotter since the pandemic kind of pushed everything online.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's interesting. A lot of people think e-learning and they go straight to PowerPoint.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
Slides.
Yeah, you and I both know it's so much more than that.
It's way more than that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with just the basics, just so we're all on the same page. The RoleCatcher Career Guide actually lays out the different types of things an e-learning developer actually does.
Hmm.
What are some of the highlights?
Well, I always say you're not just presenting information, you're designing an entire experience. It's about understanding how people learn best online. And then using all these different tools and strategies to make that happen. It could be anything from creating interactive simulations and gamified quizzes to producing videos and even podcasts like this one.
I love that. So you need that creative element, but then there's also a really strong technical side as well. The career guide mentions specific software like Articulate Storyline and Adobe Captivate. Are those the kinds of tools that you would expect someone to be asked about in an interview?
Absolutely. And that is actually where RoleCatcher's AI can really give you an edge. Their Copilot feature can actually analyze job descriptions and tell you which tools are most in demand for that specific role, so you can focus your studying and tailor your answers.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so let's say you've got a solid grasp of the tools, you're ready to tackle those interview questions. The RoleCatcher Interview Guide has a ton of examples. Where do you think we should start?
Let's jump into one of the most common opening questions. Can you give an overview of your experience with e-learning development?
I mean, it seems simple enough, but I bet there's a lot more to it than just listing off, your past jobs, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's your chance to really showcase your passion, highlight projects that demonstrate your skills, even if they weren't paid gigs. Think volunteer work, personal projects, anything that shows that you're proactive and really excited about e-learning.
So somebody with less formal work experience can still totally rock this question. So now the interview guide also mentions a potential follow-up question. What challenges did you face in that project and how did you overcome them? What is the interviewer really looking for here?
Well, they want to see how you handle obstacles. And even more importantly, how you think critically and solve problems. So did you have to learn a new software feature quickly? Did you have to get creative with limited resources? Those are the kind of stories that will make you stand out.
So it's not just about what you did, but it's how you tackled those unexpected hurdles. Okay, let's move on to another question that seems to come up a lot. How do you approach designing an e-learning course? This one feels pretty broad. Where do you even begin?
This is where you show them that you understand the principles of instructional design. And now for anyone who's unfamiliar with that term, it's basically the art and science of creating effective learning experiences. So you might talk about how you gather information about the learners and the subject matter, set clear learning objectives, and then choose different strategies to keep things engaging.
Okay, so you're like a detective, a teacher, and a storyteller all rolled into one. That makes sense. Now, the interview guide also mentions a possible follow-up question about accessibility. How do you ensure your courses are accessible to learners with disabilities? Why is that such an important consideration?
Well, accessibility is super important. You need to create learning experiences that are inclusive for everyone. So you'll want to show that you're aware of guidelines like WCAG. Those are the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, and that you know how to apply them.
Okay. Can you give us an example?
Yeah, one example is providing captions and transcripts for videos. This ensures that learners who are deaf or hard of hearing can still access the content.
That makes perfect sense. So it's not just about knowing the guidelines, but actually putting them into practice. Now, this next question gets into the technical nitty-gritty. What e-learning authoring tools are you proficient in using?
Yeah, and this is where honesty is key. Only list the tools that you truly feel comfortable with. It's better to be upfront about your skill set than to get caught in a lie during a live demo.
Oh, yeah, that would be awkward. But even if you don't have experience with every tool out there, the interview guide says that it's helpful to show that you're a quick learner. They even have a follow-up question about that. Can you tell me about a time you had to learn a new authoring tool quickly? How did you approach that?
Exactly. They want to see your adaptability and your willingness to learn new things. So think about a time when you were thrown in the deep end and how you managed to swim.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so we've talked about experience, problem solving, instructional design, accessibility, and technical skills. That is a lot to cover, and we're just getting started.
And remember, RoleCatcher's Copilot AI can help you tailor your answers to each specific job that you're applying for. It's like having a personalized interview coach right in your pocket.
We'll delve deeper into some more of those tricky interview questions when we come back in part 2. Welcome back to our e-learning developer interview prep deep dive. We left off talking about all the technical stuff, but the RoleCatcher Career Guide really emphasizes that it's not just about the hard skills, right?
Right, soft skills are just as important, especially in a field like this where you're constantly collaborating with others.
Yeah, and the guide specifically calls out communication, collaboration, and problem solving. Why are those so crucial for e-learning developers?
Well, imagine you're working on this complex course with subject matter experts, instructional designers, maybe even like a whole team of developers. You need to be able to clearly communicate your ideas, actively listen to feedback, and navigate any conflicts that might arise.
You're like the conductor, making sure everyone is playing in harmony.
Exactly. And these soft skills are often assessed through behavioral interview questions. For example, the RoleCatcher Interview Guide has one that asks, can you describe a time when you had to adapt an e-learning course for a global audience?
Ooh, that's a good one. And it's not just about language translation, right?
No, it's much deeper than that. You might need to consider different cultural norms, learning styles, or even technological limitations in different parts of the world.
So you'd want to talk about how you researched those specific cultural nuances and tailored the course to be inclusive and engaging for everyone.
Precisely. Another question that often comes up is, can you describe a time when you had to troubleshoot a technical issue in an e-learning course?
Oh, this one feels a little bit more technical.
Yeah.
But I bet there's a soft skill element to it as well.
Absolutely. It's not just about like finding the solution. It's about how you communicate the problem and the resolution to different stakeholders. Did you keep everyone informed? Did you explain things in a way that was easy to understand? Those are the kinds of details that will really highlight your communication and problem-solving skills.
So even in a tech-focused question, you can weave in those soft skills.
That's really smart. Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about the bigger picture. The RoleCatcher Career Guide outlines different career stages for e-learning developers. Why is it helpful to kind of understand those different stages?
Well, it gives you a roadmap for your career progression, whether you're just starting out as like a junior developer or you're aiming for like a senior level role. Knowing the skills and experience required at each stage can help you set goals and focus your development efforts.
It's like leveling up in a video game. You know what skills you need to unlock the next achievement.
Exactly. And speaking of showcasing your skills, the guide emphasizes the importance of building a portfolio. Right, a portfolio is like essential for e-learning developers. It's a visual representation of all your amazing work.
And RoleCatcher actually has resources to help you create a killer portfolio, including templates and tips on how to best showcase your projects.
So they've got you covered from resume to interview to portfolio building. That's pretty incredible. Okay, let's jump back into those interview questions. There's one in the interview guide that asks, what is your process for gathering and incorporating feedback from subject matter experts?
This is another one that's all about collaboration and communication. You want to demonstrate that you value feedback.
Yep.
And that you have a system for incorporating it effectively.
So I might talk about like specific tools or techniques that you use, like shared documents or virtual meetings.
Exactly. And you could also mention how you synthesize different perspectives and make sure that everyone feels heard. That shows you're a team player and a good listener.
Now, here's a question that can be a bit tricky. Can you describe a situation where you had to manage a conflict within a team?
Conflict resolution is a vital skill, especially in a collaborative field like e-learning development. The key here is to choose an example that highlights your ability to stay calm, listen to different perspectives, and find a solution that benefits everyone.
Yeah, and even if the conflict wasn't fully resolved, you can still talk about the lessons you learned and how you grew from the experience.
Absolutely. It's all about showing that you can handle difficult situations with maturity and professionalism.
Okay, one last question before we move on. How do you stay current with e-learning trends and technologies?
This is where you show that you're passionate about the field and committed to continuous learning.
So you might mention things like attending industry conferences, reading blogs, taking online courses, or experimenting with new software in your free time.
Exactly. It's all about showing that you're a lifelong learner who is always eager to grow and adapt.
Okay, now for the question everyone dreads. What are your salary expectations?
This one can be tricky, but it's all about preparation. The RoleCatcher Career Guide has some great advice on researching salary benchmarks for your experience level and location.
So you can go into the interview with a realistic range in mind. and be prepared to justify your expectations based on your skills and the value that you bring to the table.
Right. And don't be afraid to negotiate.
We've covered so much in this course. Soft skills, career stages, portfolios, conflict resolution, even the salary question. Is there anything else that we should touch on before we wrap up?
We can't forget about RoleCatcher's AI-powered tools. They can help you with everything, from tailoring your resume and practicing your answers, to researching salary benchmarks and even getting feedback on your interview performance.
It's like having a whole career support team at your fingertips. We'll be back in part 3 with some final thoughts on mindset and the future of e-learning, so stay tuned. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into e-learning developer interview prep. I feel like we've covered everything but the kitchen sink. From technical skills and those tricky behavioral questions, to building a killer portfolio and even navigating that dreaded salary talk.
It's been quite a journey, and through it all, we've highlighted how RoleCatcher's AI features can really give you a leg up in this competitive job market. But there's one last piece of the puzzle we need to talk about, and that's you.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What do you mean by me?
I'm talking about your mindset, your attitude going into that interview. The career guide actually touches on this, emphasizing the importance of confidence and enthusiasm.
Yeah, that makes sense. If you're not feeling it, the interviewer is going to pick up on that. But how do you project that confidence, especially if you're nervous?
Yeah. One thing that really helps is shifting your perspective. Instead of seeing it as like an interrogation, think of it as a conversation, a chance to showcase your passion for e-learning and learn more about the company and the role.
So it's a two-way street. And that also means asking thoughtful questions as well, right?
Absolutely. The interview guide suggests prepping a few questions beforehand. You could ask about the company's e-learning goals, the team's work style, opportunities for professional development, anything that shows that you're engaged and genuinely interested.
And don't be afraid to let your personality shine through. I mean, within reason, of course.
Of course. You want to be professional, but also authentic. Let the interviewer see what makes you unique and why you'd be a valuable asset to their team.
Okay, so you've nailed the interview, you've asked some great questions, and you're feeling good. What about those final moments? Any tips on how to leave a lasting impression?
Definitely. First and foremost, express your gratitude, thank the interviewer for their time, and reiterate your enthusiasm for the role. You can even briefly mention a specific skill or project that you're particularly proud of, and how it could benefit their team.
It's like that final mic drop moment.
Exactly. And don't forget to ask about the next steps in the hiring process. It shows that you're proactive and eager to move forward.
Okay, the interview is over. Whew!
Now what?
Now it's time to reflect. What went well? What could you have done differently? Even if you don't get this particular job, every interview is a learning experience.
And remember, RoleCatcher's Copilot AI can actually provide feedback on your interview performance. It's like having a personal coach analyze your every move. That's pretty amazing.
It is. Okay, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought. The field of e-learning is constantly evolving. New technologies are emerging all the time, like virtual reality, augmented reality, and artificial intelligence. What role do you want to play in shaping the future of learning? Wow, that's a powerful question. It's not just about landing the job. It's about being a part of something bigger, something that's constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Exactly. So stay curious, embrace the challenges, and never stop learning. The future of e-learning is in your hands.
And with that inspiring thought, we come to the end of our deep dive. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and feel empowered to rock that e-learning developer interview. Good luck.